welcome. Thanks for joining us here on WION. I'm Ananya Dattan, and latest coming in is that from New Delhi, a lot is happening from New Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court to the Supreme Court and the Aam Aadmi Party headquarters to the ED headquarters. The alleged Delhi liquor policy scam is proving to be the biggest pre-poll controversy ahead of the 2024 general elections. That's just in about a month from now. And the latest we have for you is that the Enforcement Directorate has produced Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the court in Delhi, and he was arrested late last night, and this is the latest we have for you. Now, to decode this further, our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur and Siddhant Sibul have been on the ground. Dharamjot is joining us live from outside the Rouse Avenue Court complex in New Delhi, and Siddhant is at ITO Delhi, where protests have broken out since this morning. Dharamjot, if I could quickly start with you, we are hearing that Arvind Kejriwal has been produced by the ED at the court where you're standing. What can you tell us right now?
Well, Ananya, just 5 minutes ago, we saw the car approaching and, taking the Delhi Chief Minister inside the court. So hearing is expected to begin shortly, any moment now. We initially also heard that there may be a possibility of the Chief Minister being, carrying out the case via video conferencing, but that was obviously ruled out. So now that everyone is closely watching to see how this entire case pans out, especially after the Chief Minister had withdrawn his plea from the Supreme Court, and his advocate had cited that it is inappropriate to have a case also or a plea going on in Supreme Court while there is a case registered in the lower court as well. Right. So right now all eyes at the complex behind me to see how this entire case pans out. What is it that the district court judges will say, and for how many days will ED get custody of Arvind Kejriwal for further questioning? Ananya?
All right, Dharamjot, stay with us. Siddhant, you're at ITO Delhi. What's happening there?
Well, I'm standing here at the ITO junction. This is one of the key areas, the main arterial road of Delhi as well. And of course, security has been beefed up, increased. If my camera person can show you the presence of the RAF here on the ground. And of course, we know that this road, if my camera person can come and show the road as well, which goes to the Rouse Avenue Court, this has been completely blocked for any movement of any vehicle or passenger people traveling. So essentially this road that also leads to the Rouse Avenue Court and the headquarters of the ruling BJP party has been blocked. We saw the AAP activist supporters also coming and protesting. We know that the AAP has mobilized its workers for protest, and we have seen visuals all through the day of their protest across the country. This is one of the biggest political story emerging from India in last 24 hours, and of course the fact that a sitting chief minister has been arrested on alleged charges of corruption is a big story ahead of the general elections that are going to take place next month. It is a 2-month-long process, and before that, a lot of political activities here in India.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Dharamjot, if I could come back to you, the AAP government has clearly said that Arvind Kejriwal will continue to be the Chief Minister of Delhi and will do his duties from within the jail. I want to ask you, how viable is this, given that it will probably be the first time a Chief Minister leads a government from behind bars?
Well, Ananya, there is no clarity, in the prison manual per se in terms of, whether this is something that the Chief Minister can do or not administratively and legally. So the manual does have a caveat for the President of India and state governors in terms of them carrying out their duties from behind bars, that too under certain circumstances. But for other government leaders and for the Chief Minister of a state, there is no such provision. especially because the manual of the prison does not allow, any document signing per se that can be carried out from behind the prison bars. There are certain provisions where the Chief Minister will be allowed to meet about 5 to 6 people per day. So while meetings and discussions may be possible, how will the Chief Minister take certain decisions, whether or not he can, sign documents and carry out other administrative processes? The lines are a little blurry on that front. Ananya?
Right, Dharamjot, the lines are definitely blurry. We need to wait and see how that will pan out. Siddhant, what's interesting is that the centre has the power to suspend Arvind Kejriwal from the Chief Minister's position. What are you hearing from the BJP office that's just kilometres away from where you're standing?
Well, so far we haven't seen any reaction on that particular issue, but we have seen the opposition and the ruling party trading charges. We know that all throughout the day we have seen reactions from various opposition leaders, because essentially the India alliance ahead of the elections faces its moment. This moment could be a make or break moment, given the fact that Arvind Kejriwal was one of the key component of that, and now he faces the charges of alleged corruption. But the ruling party, of course, is highlighting how this is one of the big issues, corruption issue for them, and they, of course, are fighting that. So there are multiple nuances to the entire development that is taking place. But on the ground where I am standing, before I let go, I'll still show you the situation. More presence of the RAF on the ground. In fact, even as we speak, more presence of RAF with more security personnel now being brought in, with the presence of Delhi police as well. There you can see on your screens, these are the latest live visuals of the presence of the security presence on the ground here in New Delhi. And all throughout the day we have seen only these kinds of visuals, and of course the activists also trying to take to the streets. And remember, that is causing major travel snarls across the city. Today is last working day, but essentially if we look at how things will pan out, we'll get to know only as the day progresses. It looks like some kind of development is going to happen shortly here, because the RF presence has not only been increased on the ground, but they are taking positions now. As you can see on your screens, they are taking positions for some kind of development. We really do not know what development is going to take place on the ground here. This is one of the main roads that go to the court and also the BJP headquarters. Will there be more activists, the AAP activists coming here on the ground, is something that we all are waiting for.
Right. Dharamjot, earlier we were told that the Education Minister of Delhi, Atishi, and also the Health Minister, Saurabh Bhardwaj, both of them were detained by the Delhi police. Do you have any update on that front?
Ananya, they were detained about a few hours ago by the Delhi police. They're currently at the police station in Alipur, which is about an hour away from ground zero where all the action is currently taking place. So the security personnel are trying to, to quash down any sort of protest by, dispersing leaders and party workers in different parts of the national capital. Also, metro stations, especially the one at the ITO, has been shut down till 6 p.m. in the evening. So a lot of measures to deter crowds from gathering are being taken by the security personnel. When the leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party will be freed, people don't have clarity on that. But in the meantime, the Aam Aadmi Party leaders from Punjab have arrived in the national capital. Earlier in the day, we had the Health Minister and the Education Minister of Punjab arriving over here at the Aam Aadmi Party office in the afternoon. Following that, we just saw visuals about an hour ago of Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann also visiting Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's residence in the civil lines. So there is a lot of activity on the political front, given that, the case is currently ongoing in the court in terms of what the future holds for Arvind Kejriwal over the next few days. So while some leaders are in prison, a lot of the others from the state of Punjab and other parts of India will be coming together to see how this political vacuum can be filled over the next few days. Ananya?
Absolutely, and that comes to the heels of the Aam Aadmi Party calling for a nationwide protest. Dharamjot Kaur and Siddhant Sibul, it has been a long day for you, and it's probably going to only go longer. Thank you so much for joining us here on WION and getting us all those ground updates. And for those of you who are just joining in, the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who skipped 9 summons by the Enforcement Directorate before his dramatic arrest late last evening in connection with the alleged liquor policy scam, has withdrawn a Supreme Court petition against his arrest. And we can confirm at the moment that he is at the court in Delhi right now. He's been produced just minutes back, where our correspondents have been reporting us and giving us live updates from. Let's shift our focus to other stories now. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Bhutan for a 24-hour state visit. The visit is aimed at cementing deeper ties between the two countries and comes just weeks before India heads to general elections in April. Now, the Indian Prime Minister received a ceremonial welcome at the country, and during the course of his visit, Bhutan's king will present the country's highest civilian honor to Prime Minister Modi. The order of the Drak Gyalpo was conferred on Prime Minister Modi in 2021 for India's provision of 500,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines to Bhutan. Later in the day, the king, Wangchuk, will also host a banquet in the Prime Minister's honor. The visit comes just a week after Bhutan's Prime Minister Shering Togbe visited Delhi. And as per India's Foreign Ministry, the trip is meant to denote India's commitment to Bhutan and is in line with the country's neighborhood first policy. In the latest visit, the two leaders are set to exchange signed MOUs on energy conservation and food safety standards. Apart from bilaterals, Bhutan's progress in boundary talks with China are also expected to be a hot focus of the visit. China has recently raised boundary disputes in the Sakteng region, interfering with India's plans to improve road infrastructure in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. Just on Friday, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate a mother and child hospital in the Bhutanese capital of Thimphu. India provided funding support for the development of the hospital to boost healthcare facilities in Bhutan. Prime Minister Modi was earlier scheduled to leave for the state visit on Thursday. However, it was postponed by a day over harsh weather conditions in the Himalayan nation. In a significant development in the bomb blast that shook the Indian tech capital of Bengaluru in the state of Karnataka, investigators have most likely determined the identity of the Rameshwaram cafe bomber, and this was by identifying a limited edition baseball cap worn by him. The bomber was involved in the low-intensity blast at the city's Rameshwaram cafe on March 1st. The suspect was seen wearing the white cap in CCTV footages on the day of the blast, which injured as many as 10 people. The National Investigation Agency, as well as the Central Crime Branch of the Bengaluru Police, is leading the investigation into the case. Authorities found the cap abandoned around 3 kilometers from the cafe, where the suspect is said to have changed his shirt as well. The police said that the branded cap, which had the number 10 on it, was sold by a retail store at a mall in Chennai. The cap was found to have been a part of a limited edition series from a youth brand. Only 400 such caps have been sold in India by the brand. Meanwhile, Karnataka Home Minister has said that on March 11th, and I'm quoting, the identity of the suspect has been established in some ways. We have to confirm it and catch him. The NIA and CCB are working together. We are getting closer. Investigators scoured through CCTV footages from the store and spotted 2 men purchasing the cap and some other items at the store in January. The police then compared the footage with the one retrieved from a public bus. They were seen to be similar. Now, the man, Musawir Hussain Shazib, is likely to be a missing suspect from the Islamic State's Shiv Moga module. The NIA has had around $6,000 reward sum set for Shazib's arrest, who has been on the radar of investigative agencies since January 2020. It's not just the Houthi threat that is affecting shipping routes in the Indian Ocean. Pirates from Somalia have made a comeback in the region, which further threatens shipping routes. Now, this has led to surge in security and insurgence costs for shipping giants across the world. The next report decodes the rising cost of global shipping.
A distress signal and a call to an emergency hotline couldn't save the Abdullah from Somali pirates. The Bangladeshi-owned bulk carrier was boarded last week, the latest victim of a resurgence in Somali piracy that international navies thought they had previously brought under control. A week later, and the Abdullah is anchored off Somalia. Speaking by telephone from a coastal area of the semi-autonomous Puntland region, one pirate financier, who goes by the alias Ismail Issei, said international navies had reduced their operations off Somalia. That's as, several hundred nautical miles to the north, Houthi militants have been launching repeated drone and missile strikes on international shipping in the Red Sea region since mid-November. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud said that distraction was encouraging piracy.
Incidents that took place, it's not higher level, but it can go if we do not stop while it's still at infancy stage.
For nearly a decade, joint international operations had kept piracy dormant in waters that include some of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Instigators were thought to have largely become inactive. Mohamud says the answer is to boost Somalia's own law enforcement capabilities, both on land and in the sea. Its coast guard, according to government data, has only one functioning boat. The capital Mogadishu, the breakaway Somaliland region and Puntland also have their own maritime police forces with limited resources. At their peak in 2011, Somali pirates launched 237 attacks and held hundreds of hostages, according to the International Maritime Bureau. That year, the Oceans Beyond Piracy Monitoring Group estimated their activities cost the global economy about $7 billion, including hundreds of millions in ransoms. The current rate of attacks is significantly less. According to data from the EU's anti-piracy mission, EU NAVFOR Atalanta, at least 2 cargo ships and 12 fishing vessels have been successfully seized since November. Over the weekend, the Indian Navy intercepted and freed another bulk carrier after it ventured back out to sea. The raids are piling risks and costs on shipping companies. That includes in terms of additional war risk premiums imposed by insurers and increased demand for private armed guards. But costs to global shipping companies may be of little concern on the Puntland coast. There, fisherman Kemi Kenan says some young Somalis have little choice other than turning to piracy.
If the illegal foreign fishing boats in our sea will not stop, our youth will have to defend their sea, because they are losing their livelihoods.
He says when it's a case of a small-scale fisherman competing against international vessels, then, quote, the only option is for them to take up guns for revenge.
Diplomatic friction is increasing between the United States and Mexico. The latter has warned the U.S. of substantial tensions over the recent Texas migration law. The key U.S. ally has said that these tensions will have far-reaching consequences on the country's relations. Now, Mexico has pushed back on the law that allows the deportation of undocumented migrants. Not only this, President Andrés Obrador has gone a step further and denounced the law as draconian. He has underlined that his government will thwart all attempts by Texas to deport migrants back to the country where they come from. If the law goes into effect, Mexico will ensure increased vigilance and controls at the border. Now, this has raised concerns over possible border standoffs between the state authorities of the two countries. Meanwhile, the Texas authorities and the Biden administration are also involved in a major showdown over the law. Texas authorities say that the influx of migrants is invasive and requires strict state measures. Now, these include arrests and deportations. However, the Biden administration maintains it to be a federal responsibility. Time for a quick update from the Swiss Open in Basel. Double Olympic medalist PV Sindhu and reigning Commonwealth Games champion Lakshya Sen have crashed out of the Super 300 tournament. The world number 11 Sindhu's run at the tournament was ended by Japanese teenager Tomoko Miyazaki. Miyazaki, who had come into the tournament after winning her maiden Super 300 crown in France last week, lost the first game 16-21 to Sindhu. But the 17-year-old won the next games to notch up the biggest win of her career so far, 16-21, 21-19 and 21-16 in an hour and 19 minutes. Sindhu had also suffered a second round exit at the All England Championships last week. Fourth seed Lakshya Sen was stunned by world number 34, Li Chia-hao. The world number 13 reached back-to-back semi-finals at French Open and All England Championships in the last 2 weeks, but did not have a great start to the match. He was 3-9 down in the first game, but he fought back to make it 16-16, but that wasn't enough. Li found his rhythm back and won the game. Sen started the second game strongly and took a 11-5 lead, but he couldn't hold the advantage and eventually lost the match 17-21, 15-21. Former world number 1 Kidambi Srikanth has advanced to quarterfinals of the tournament. World number 27 defeated top seed Li Zijia 21-16, 21-15 and in just 36 minutes. It was the Malaysian's second defeat to Srikanth in 6 meetings, with his only other loss coming in the 2022 Japan Open. The 31-year-old Indian will face Li Chia-hao next. It's Friday and Hollywood is buzzing with new trailers. So if you're looking forward to see a glimpse of the upcoming series and movies, watch our next report for more details. And with that, we're wrapping up this edition of the broadcast. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta. More Globe News will continue on the other side.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
From an early age, Nina followed us during the educational activities, beach cleaning, and when she was 3 years old, she was awarded here in Copacabana as the youngest beach cleaner. When she was 5, she won the prize for the biggest environmental influencer in Brazil in 2021.
De maior influenciadora ambiental do Brasil em 2021.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
South Africa, for WION, World is One.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One with me, Ananya Datta, and also sign language expert Miss Rajni Kalra. Let's get started. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that children should not be dying of malnutrition in Gaza as he spoke to his Egyptian counterpart. Blinken huddled with top Arab diplomats in Cairo to discuss post-conflict plans for Gaza as relations between the United States and Israel soured further over Israel's war against Hamas. Notably, its intent to mount a major military operation against the southern city of Rafah. According to Gaza's health ministry, the current death toll stands at 32,000 since the war began, in the aftermath of October 7th attack carried out by the Hamas militants on Israeli soil. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has left for Israel as part of his 6th urgent mission to West Asia since the outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war in October. US's top diplomat Blinken is set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet in Tel Aviv. In Cairo, Antony Blinken met the top Arab diplomats and held discussions on efforts for a ceasefire and post-conflict plans for the Gaza Strip. Blinken said a major Israeli ground assault on Rafah would be a mistake and underscored further the souring of relations between the US and Israel. US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin will host a meeting with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. That'll happen next week at the Pentagon to discuss the Israel-Hamas war and other security issues in West Asia. Significantly, this will be the first face-to-face meeting between the defense ministers since the outbreak of the war between Israel armed forces and Hamas militants. Lloyd Austin's meeting with Gallant is separate from one planned by the White House that followed a call with President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which the Israeli Prime Minister agreed to send a high-level delegation to Washington to discuss plans for the proposed Rafah operation. The tensions refuse to die down in the Red Sea region. The US Central Command says it destroyed ballistic missiles and an unmanned surface vessel launched by Iran-affiliated Houthi militias. In a post on social media, the US Central Command wrote that it was determined that these weapons presented an imminent threat to coalition and merchant vessels in the region. Notably, there were no injuries or damage reported to US or any coalition vessels. Eight trucks from southern Israel entered into northern Gaza along a corridor that Israeli authorities said earlier this month had been tried as a pilot program. The 8 trucks crossed into the strip at a crossing point near kibbutz in southern Israel. The Israeli defense body said it is coordinating every day more than 30 humanitarian operations inside the Gaza Strip. The ongoing Israel-Hamas war has driven 80% of Gaza's population of 2.3 million Palestinians from their homes. And according to the United Nations, a quarter of the population is starving. According to Hamas's health ministry, the current death toll stands at over 32,000. The armed wing of the Palestinian militant group Hamas released a footage showing fighters carrying shoulder-mounted weapons and firing them at Israeli tanks in Gaza City. The Al-Qassam Brigade released a statement saying that its fighters tried to fight against the enemy's military vehicles at the vicinity of Al-Shifa medical compound in Gaza City. The war between the Israeli armed forces and the Hamas militias has been going on for over 6 months, killing 32,000 civilians, including women and children. Israel's armed offensive continues in the war-torn Gaza Strip. The Israeli military says that Hamas's gunmen are holed up